Hey everybody, this is Cellular Chloe from Wireless Phone, and a couple of fun things landed on my desk this morning. That being the dummies of the enV3. So these are not operating phones, so I'll minimize your disappointment now by telling you that I won't be able to really show you any functions on it, but to compare some things about the enV2 and enV3. I know that's human nature to wonder how things progressed when it changes and jumps up a model. In front of me is the enV2 and the enV3, and they come in maroon and slate blue. The slate blue is kind of hard probably to pick up on the video here, but it's similar in color. The old one was actually a turquoise, where this one's a slate blue. So I'm kind of moving that around a little so you can pick it up in the light and see maybe the difference. So let's take it from the top. So we've got nothing really much going on here. On the side, you've now got your 2.5 jack block. Don't get anything inside of there. Your micro SD cards are in the same place. However, the enV2 took an 8 gig card. This one takes a 16 gig card. We got our charging ports, nothing big there, and on the spine we've got camera and your volume rockers, and back here we've got our camera. Now let's keep it this way so we're still knowing that this is the enV2 and this is the enV3. Maybe this would be one good way to remember it, but the enV2 has a 2 megapixel camera, the enV3 has a 3 megapixel camera, and it also has flash now, so that's a pretty cool feature. And so that's pretty much it on the outside. That is one great thing though about having the 3 megapixel as opposed to the 2 megapixel. At any rate, so let's open them up, and if I didn't describe this already, the dummy models, and that's what we've come to call them, maybe it's not a great name for them, but those particular models are for use in the store. We get them in sooner because they're not the real thing and you can't really do anything with them or sell them. And in the store, you don't really have to worry about theft because, who's going to want to steal a non-working model? Anyway, so this is a dummy model. I won't be able to do anything with it. None of the keys really function, although you can press them like it's pretty much the exact shell of what the new manufactured phone will be, just isn't operating. And it has a still image on both screens, just so you can get an idea what the screens are going to look like. So, with that said, a couple of things going on inside here. If we look at the keypad, there's a couple of differences with the keypad. First of all, you've got function keys over here. You no longer have a function key, you now have a favorites key and a messaging key. So I'm thinking that LG probably figured that those were the most often used functions. The functions, if you remember, are you can reassign them, but these are some of the programs that you have and maybe that you use most frequently. So I call them shortcuts really more than anything else, but so that's what that key was about, and now it's a favorite key. At least that's what I'm assuming, being that there's a little person and a star. So typically in the LG world, a star means favorites. So, and then of course your messaging key, and then everything else is pretty much similar. And you've got a switch in keys right here. Your symbol key went up a spot, and your shift key, which is no longer here. So your shift key, then your symbol key. Over here it's symbol, then space. Now what they've done with the space key is they've moved these 2 space keys to the center, which kind of makes more sense on a QWERTY keyboard. I mean, after all, I don't know how much you're missing here because I'm way down at the bottom of the screen. Let me just kind of go by that again. Your space keys, which were here and here, are now in the center. So that makes more sense. Other than that, everything else that is on all these other keys is still the same. You've got your navigation for games and such here, and it's just simply changed to the color of the phone. Although on the maroon phone, they're gray. They're not, because the keyboard itself is maroon instead of a black background like the slate blue has. Your send and end keys are in the same place. Your speakerphone, your clear, your OK, and these navigations are still in the same place. So basically, other than the function keys and the keys going on right here, everything else and the space has remained the same. One thing that I can tell you is that it's slightly wider. Well, first of all, let's look at the phone this way. And you may or may not be able to tell, but the enV3 is a little smidge wider. I should probably have looked that up in the specs for you because I've got some other specs top of mind. But it's a little bit wider, and it's set up just a little differently. If you notice, I've got like a little bit of an arc going on. So the keys are definitely bigger. Let's bring it up close here. The keys are definitely bigger than they were on the enV2. Again, enV3, enV2, just so you're clear which is which. So if you notice, they changed the shape of them also. I'm not really sure that mattered, but they're definitely wider. Try to move them around a little so that you can pick up on that. Than the keys were here. So moving a couple things around, making it a smidge wider, all gave them a little bit of room to make the keys just that much wider. A couple other things about it. The enV2 is 4.23 ounces. That's the enV2. And the enV3 is 3.77 ounces. So it's actually lighter. Now, I can't use this as a gauge because this doesn't have the guts in it that it would if it was a functioning phone. So sometimes these they try to make it approximate. This seems to be a little thinner, just ever so slightly. And again, I should have probably just looked up the specs on that so I can give you an exact amount, but I just wanted to focus more on some of the bigger items. Another big thing is the enV2, 5.3 hours of talk time, 5.45 hours of talk time on the enV3. So not that big a difference, but you get a little bit more talk time out of it. A lot of times people send me comments and ask how the battery is. You never really know until you're using it, and it also varies on what you use it for. So, you know, if you're doing a lot of texting, it does have flash, and it also has a zoom that goes up to 1.6 times. So keep in mind when you're using some of that stuff, like you know, like the rocker panel, I'm assuming is going to be the zoom for the camera, and the flash, and that tends to take away from battery life. So if you're using your camera a lot, or even texting a lot, you're certainly not going to have 5.45 hours of talk time per se. So, and then let's just go over a couple of things right on front here. The contacts key used to be the music key. So unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure what's going to go on here with this. I'm assuming if you remember the Chocolate 3, how this had this cute little almost iPod-esque wheel on it, that it cycles through some of your different functions. So they brought the contacts to the outside. Everything else is the same. So but you now have a left and right on your navigation, where you didn't have that before. On the outside. So you've got the up and down on this guy, on the enV2, and this one you now have left and right. So I'm thinking it's going to be like the Chocolate 3, and if you don't remember what that looked like, I do have a video up on this channel of the Chocolate 3. And then everything else is the same. Only difference is the keys are just set up kind of more like a wave than they were here. So the keys are maybe, if anything, a little bit smaller than they were over here on the enV2. So basically, that's all I have to tell you about it. It's also a little bit more rounded off in the corners, and a lot of these features we knew kind of going into this because we've seen pictures of them side by side, but to actually look at them and hold them side by side is a little bit different. So hopefully, I've given you a good feel for you know, what the phone's going to look like, and you know, maybe how it's going to act a little bit based on some of the different keys. And the ability to text maybe a little bit better with the wider keys. So that, my friends, is the enV3. This phone is going to hit the streets. Hopefully we'll have them in our stores on May 29th. Actually, the actual Verizon stores get them first, so I'm not entirely sure if we'll have them on the 29th. That's subject to change. The pricing, I think, is going to be about $179 with a $50 rebate. That, of course, is on a 2-year contract. So keep an eye out around May 29th for the enV3 to hit the stores.